On today's episode of Kaz Cooks History, where I cook up the go-to meals of historical figures, both famous and infamous, we're cooking Xinxim de Galinha, a rich, creamy, golden chicken dish from Brazil and the favourite meal of this guy. Born Edson Arantes de Nascimento on 23rd of October 1940 in Três Corações, Brazil, Pelé is widely considered to be the greatest football player of all time. His football career started at 15 when he joined Santos, before joining the Brazil national team a year later at 16. Pelé then went on to become the youngest player to win a World Cup, the only player to win 3 World Cups, and the Guinness World Record holder for most career goals. In short, the man was a legend, and I'm excited to get to know his taste a little better. So without further ado, let's step into his shoes through food. A beautiful example of fusion cuisine, Xinxim de Galinha is a traditional Afro-Brazilian dish from Bahia in Brazil, with roots in West African cuisine brought over by enslaved people. It's a rich chicken and shrimp stew that combines indigenous, African and Portuguese influences. With chicken at the centre of this dish, it's really important that we make the chicken sing. So we're going to create a marinade and let the chicken soak up those flavours for around 30 minutes. Before doing that, it's important to clean up the chicken and cut off any excess fat. This will give the meat a more attractive finish and avoid any flabby texture. Once the chicken is cleaned and prepped, the marinade goes on. It's a nice simple marinade. For acidity, the juice of 1 lime.
Oops.
For aroma, some crushed garlic. And for seasoning, a few cracks of black pepper and a generous sprinkling of salt. With the marinade on, it's time to mix that all in. It's important to mix generously, as I really want to make sure that the chicken is nice and evenly coated with all that lovely flavour. Once we're happy, we can pop that to one side and leave it to marinate for around 30 minutes. In the meantime, we'll move on to creating the base of the stew, which is essentially a slurry that we'll add to the chicken once cooking. Peanuts and cashews are a key ingredient in the base we're creating. They're nutty,
No shit, Sherlock!
earthy and fatty, and help to emulsify the sauce. You'll see ground nuts used a lot in recipes from the Bahian region. Blending nuts with aromatics is a technique with African roots that over the years Bahia has made part of its everyday cooking. Also adding onions, grated ginger and coriander for some sweetness and freshness. And finally we're going in with dried shrimp. Before attempting this dish, I've never cooked with dried shrimp. It proved difficult to find and expensive to buy, but I managed to source a tiny packet from my local Asian supermarket for the modest price of £7.
Cha-ching.
This is why I have no savings.
I declare bankruptcy!
When blending the ingredients together, add water to adjust the consistency. Keep blending until it looks like a creamy shrimp smoothie and voila. Or if you're Brazilian, é pronto. We're ready to start cooking. Start by heating up the pan, and once it's up to temperature, add in the oil. I'm used to cooking with vegetable oil and olive oil, but this recipe calls for something different. Aceite de dendê, or red palm oil. The red palm oil was solid, so I left the bottle in some warm water to loosen it up, and it came out looking like a loosened stool. An angry one. Swirl the angry stool around on a medium heat until it's sizzling, then add in the marinated chicken piece by piece and leave it to brown. Red palm oil came to Brazil from the African oil palm tree, which was introduced during the transatlantic slave trade in the 16th century. Brought by enslaved West Africans, the trees were first planted in the northeast, particularly in Bahia, where they adapted to the climate and became a staple of Afro-Brazilian cuisine. The oil was used in traditional religious practices and dishes, and its cultivation became a means of survival for communities after slavery was abolished. Today, it brings colour, aroma, and a distinctive taste that the Brazilians instantly recognise. And you can really see that rich colour developing on the chicken as it browns. Once the chicken is browned, add it in the base of the sauce, stirring it in and leaving it to simmer for up to an hour until the chicken is nice and tender. Finally, pour and stir 1 tin of coconut milk and add water for a thinner consistency where needed. We're aiming for a sauce that lightly coats a spoon. If it tightens too much, a small splash of water can bring it back. I'm loving the colour of this sauce. In Bahia, dishes don't just feed people, they carry meaning. Xinxim is often made in candomblé contexts, candomblé being an Afro-Brazilian religion where foods are connected to orixas or deities. Oxum, the Yoruba deity associated with fresh water and gold, is linked to this version of the dish, and the silky texture and golden colour of the sauce definitely speak to that association. I'm serving up my Xinxim de Galinha with fluffy basmati rice. You can use a different rice variety, but basmati is what I had available. The dish is fatty and rich, so it's important to serve the rice plain so as not to distract from the punchy flavour of the sauce. I was expecting the nuts to come through a bit more, but most of the flavour I'm getting is from the dried shrimp. I'm starting to see why a lot of the recipes omit it entirely, and if you do decide to use it, do so in moderation. I'd also probably use a lot less palm oil next time and maybe shop around for higher quality, as I'm finding its flavour quite artificial. Overall, for the flavour rating, I'll go with a 6. I had really high hopes looking at the recipe list, but all I'm tasting in the end product is dried shrimp, which is quite disappointing, but also probably my own fault.